What? If you are a Lightsworn fan, then today's video is for you.
This video is sponsored by Big Boy Gaming. Follow the link in the description below for all of your card gaming needs.
What's going on, guys? And welcome back to the Edison Club. Not one, but two Kristya Sworn decks managed to take top 8 at the RBET last weekend, one of them being my friend Mitchell Nouse, aka HydroPump. And these lists are very spicy, and I'm very glad to see Kristya Sworn finally taking some top 8 slots. I feel like a lot of people really undervalued and overlooked this deck for quite some time, and it does my heart well to finally see the deck getting some representation. So we're going to go over and talk about both of those lists today. But before we get started, as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really just motivates me to keep going, getting better at the game as well as content creation. So when you guys are hitting the button and ringing the bell, it just says to me, hey, you know, we like what you're doing. Also, if you look right above here, you'll see we're at 2292 out of our goal of 3,000 subscribers. So we are definitely on our way. So if you're not subscribed, hit the button and ring the bell. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into HydroPump's top 8 Kristya Sworn list. Now, we're not really going to go too far into detail on these. We are going to discuss them a little bit, but I'll go ahead and let you know that HydroPump uploaded a video today. This video is being uploaded on Sunday, so you'll be viewing it on Monday. HydroPump uploaded a video on Sunday, kind of going into detail about all of this. That video also features ProStorm, both members of Ring of Destruction. So if you want really in-depth explanations as to why they chose to play the cards they played, I will have that video linked in the description below, as well as a link to HydroPump's channel. So, starting things off, we have 2 copies of Christia, 1 Arcus, 1 Trooper, double copies of Celestia, 1 copy of Garoth. Pretty different. We don't normally see Kristya Sworn playing Garoth most of the time. 1 Gores, double Orange Light, double Honest, 1 Jane, double JD, 1 Lumina, triple copies of Lila, triple copies of Ryko, 2 copies of Hamster, and triple copies of Wolf. We're going to circle back around to that after we go through all these other cards. We have 1 copy of Charge, 1 copy of Cold Wave, 2 copies of Gold Sark, 1 Heavy in the main, 1 My Body is a Shield in the main, and triple copies of Solar Recharge. Traps, we have 2 copies of Beckoning Light and 2 copies of Threatening Roar. Round off the 40 card main deck here. For the side deck, we have 3 Consecrated Light, 2 Lightning Vortex, 1 My Body is a Shield, 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 copies of Soul Release, 1 Dust Tornado, 1 Mirror Force, 2 Royal Oppression, and 1 Trap Dust Shoot. Extra deck, I'm going to go over it very quickly, never really changes. Chimera Tech, Catastor, Ancient Sacred Wyvern, Armory Arm, Avenging Knight Parshath, Black Rose Dragon, Brio, Colossal, Flamveller Quasis, Goyo, Android, Mistworm, Stardust Dragon, Tempest Magician, and Thought Ruler. I accidentally just yeeted away Mistworm there. Apologize. Welcome back to the party there, Mistworm. Okay, so triple Wolf in the main deck of Kristya Sworn. Now, this seems pretty crazy, and I thought the same thing when I saw the list initially. But when you go and you watch the in-depth explanation, this actually makes a lot of sense. They chose not to play cards like Aaron, which you'll see is nowhere in the deck list, main or side. Chose to play cards like Garoth instead, to try to actually mill real cards. You also notice that there's no Plague Spreader and there's no Necro Guard in this list either. So your mills are actually doing something in this variant of Kristya Sworn that most variants don't really do, and that's your mills actually can get value besides just milling names. So like your Garoth can help you draw cards, and you can be able to special summon Wolf just for free to add free pressure. So I'm sure this really helps in the Blackwing matchup as well as like the Hero Beat matchup, where regular Kristya Sworn doesn't have this card, and those matchups can be a little uphill at times. We also have a lot of Kristya Sworn players going back to playing Cold Wave. This has been a card that I've been considering for quite some time. Again, I think I'm definitely going to put it back into my list. It's very, very good. Just being able to Cold Wave JD and prevent like brain control, stuff like that, and further back row sets on the following turn. It's pretty crazy. Very glad to see him playing Gold Sark. Helps you find Christia. Helps you find something like Charge, Heavy, JD, or maybe even some side deck cards depending on the matchup. So yeah, the My Body is a Shield in the main definitely should help out in like the Blackwing matchup. It was really good against stuff like Icarus Attack. Can be good in the mirror. My Bodying a JD is really good. So I'm definitely glad to see that in here. And then 2 cards I'm very glad to see are Threatening Roar. I was a very big fan of Threatening Roar when I was playing pure Lightsworn. It's inherently a -1, and I feel like that turns people off from this card, but it's just the fact that if you open up Lila with Threatening Roar, it's just such a safe feeling, because like, unless you get like Brain Con Caius, which isn't even that effective because you can just chain the Threatening Roar, but like this Lila is going to like continue to just walk. So like this Lila will get you 3 mills on turn 1. You can Threatening Roar them, especially if they do something like Whirlwind Shura and you just Threatening Roar them. This guy's going to be able to pop Black Whirlwind and get 3 more mills, or be converted into a Celestia. So big fan of Threatening Roar. This card's great. Having all your trap cards being chainable in your deck, there's definitely something to that as well. Side deck, nothing really too special. Consecrated Light, the deck naturally struggles against Black Wings heavily. I do feel like playing stuff like Wolf, though, and this My Body as a Shield, as I mentioned earlier, definitely help that matchup. Consecrate is definitely the card you want to see post-side. Vortex outs anything like Absolute Zeros, Dupe Frogs, Quackimera Drago boards against stuff like Dragon Turbo, and the rest of it's pretty standard. You also notice that there's no copies of Royal Decree. I haven't gotten to the side deck portion of HydroPump's video yet, so I am curious why they chose not to play Decree, but they do have Double Dust Tornado and MST for back row removal, as well as the Heavy Storm in the main and the Cold Wave in the main. So congratulations, HydroPump. Really glad to see you taking top 8 with this deck, and can't wait to see what you guys come up with next. So next we have, I do believe her name is Masha. If I'm saying that incorrectly, I apologize. Her channel name is the Ice Queen. She hasn't been going but just a couple months making content, so make sure you go and check out her video on this as well. She kind of done an in-depth explanation on this video over on her channel, so make sure you head over there and subscribe. So you can see this build is more kind of like your standard Kristya Sworn list, so we'll go over this one. 3 Kristya, 1 Arcus, 1 Card Trooper, double Celestia, Aaron in the main deck. We have 3 Herald of Orange Light, double Honest, 2 Jane, 2 JD, 1 Lumina, triple Lila, 1 Necrogardener, 1 Plague Spreader, 3 Raikou, double Soul of Purity, and double Hamster. Spells, we have 1 Card Destruction, 1 Charge, 1 Heavy, triple Recharge, 2 Beckoning, 1 Call the Haunted, and 1 Compulse. Side deck, we have 2 Consecrated, 2 Cyber Dragon, 1 Gelen Duo, 1 Cold Wave, 1 Vortex, 1 Mind Control, 1 My Body as a Shield, 1 MST, 1 Twister, 2 Decree, Torrential, and Trap Dust Shoot. Extra deck is, I do believe, the same as HydroPump's, aside from she did play Red Dragon Archfiend. So you can see here we do have triple Kristya. HydroPump only played 2, and I do believe he says in his video that he chose not to play Call of the Haunted, because Call of the Haunted doesn't really combo well with many of your cards in your deck. Like, sure, sometimes you can Call the Haunted, bring back Card Trooper if they like MST or Heavy and get a draw, which is nice. Or you can bring back stuff like Lila, but normally this card's primary focus is pulling back Kristya, and in a build where you only play 2 Kristya, it doesn't happen quite as much. Also, too, I will say that while Call the Haunting back Kristya is really strong, if they do have something like Heavy or MST for this, it can actually really suck when this Kristya goes back to the top of your deck, especially if it's early and you haven't really got established. Like, let's just say like your Lila Mill hit you like 2 spells and the Kristya, and then you're just going to dead draw a Kristya on the next turn. So you have to be careful with that. And then we have the Aaron in the main deck. I've always been a big fan of Aaron. I can kind of understand why people don't like it, but for me personally, I don't think I'm going to change Aaron in my deck. The triple orange lights here, the double Jane. Neither list played Shire Lightsworn Spirit, which is your searchable Lightsworn Fairy, and I can definitely understand it. I could see how a list like Hydro's list wouldn't want to include that card, and a list like this would go ahead and choose to include double Jane to be able to out problematic cards like Quackimera Drago. They do mention in HydroPump's video that sometimes if your Jane is able to walk, sometimes it can be scary to actually attack over things, unless it's just like no back row, because you don't really want to lose the mills if this guy gets like Mirror Forced or Deprisoned or something. We have Necrogardener and Plague Spreader in this deck, where HydroPump played Wolves. And this is, I haven't ever seen anyone play Necrogardener and Kristya Sworn before, so this one was very different as well. We have one of my favorite cards in the deck, Soul of Purity and Light. It's one of the reasons why I really like the deck. I feel like this card dropping essentially for free, being like your baby Chaos Sorcerer, and the effect actually being a little bit more relevant than it probably should be of reducing all your opponent's monsters by 300. It actually comes up more than you would think. And card destruction in the main is definitely a cool choice. Sometimes this deck can get bricked on just monster cards, so being able to card destruction those away, sometimes being able to get that game 1 information, see what your opponent's playing, can definitely help you sculpt the correct field going first. Big fan of Card Destruction. Both deck lists, main deck Heavy Storm, big fan of that as well. This one has a main deck Compulse. Always big fan of main deck Compulse in a deck like Lightsworn. Summoning JD into back row and they bottomless, you chain Compulse. Just really feels bad for your opponent. So we went over the side deck, nothing too crazy, but we do have Gillen Duo, which you don't know what Gillen Duo does. It's a level 4 light fairy that says, cannot be destroyed by battle. If you take any damage, destroy this face-up card. This card can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a light fairy monster. So its Spirit Reaper can wall out against things like Dragon Turbo, probably like stuff like Machina, as well as stuff like Hero Beat. So it's like your Spirit Reaper of the deck. I was actually playing Marshmallow for a little while in one of my lists, and I realized this card's probably just a little bit better. It actually has like a real stat line, and being able to get the 2 tributes for a light fairy can definitely come up as well. Sometimes if you're walling and you just need a tribute summon a Kristya. Once again, we have the inclusion of Cold Wave, this time in the side deck, nothing wrong with that. Mind Control, being able to take stuff like Hamster, Flip, and get your own Raikos going second is nice. We have My Body as a Shield again, appears to be a reoccurring theme. And we have Twister in the side deck. She did choose to include 2 copies of Royal Decree in the side. I'm a big fan of Decree. I'm a big fan of just like locking my opponent out of all their like trap card possibilities. Big fan there. So Masha did take second at the RBET. And yeah, not much else to say here. This one I feel like is more of like a true Kristya Sworn list, whereas HydroPump's list is kind of just like a Lightsworn list with a small fairy package. That's actually a direct quote from his video. And I like both lists personally. I think I like Masha's list more for me personally because this is closer to what I have been playing since I've been playing Kristya Sworn. But I'm always kind of looking for like the next big thing, you know, the next big deviation away from like the original to try to solve the list and figure out what the most optimized list is. So if you never like deviate from the normal, you'll never be able to have more test results to be able to pull from. So really cool. One of the most unfortunate parts about these decks doing so well this weekend is now there's a possibility this deck will be back on people's radar for the YCS in Raleigh next month. But hey, you know, it's part of the game. So once again, congratulations to HydroPump on the top 8 and Masha for getting top 4, getting second place. The links to both of their channels are in the description down below, as well as the links to their individual analysis videos that they have both created. So thank you guys for watching. This is Mike from the Edison Club signing out until the next one.